Thanks again for hopping on, Obi, and welcome to Untapped Stories, man. We're super excited to share your background, your message to parents and young athletes, and again, our engaged audience who want to learn from people that have been to the top of their sport, top of their profession. I think this is a incredible, powerful story we're about to hear from you. But I guess for everyone, we kind of like to get off this way. Take everyone who's listening back to, if you can, your younger days. So before college, before the pro life. What was hoops like, or what was sports in general like for you growing up as a young kid, and how did that shape who you became today?
Man, so I was born in Nigeria, grew up here in the United States, grew up in Oklahoma City, but a soccer family. So dad played professional, brothers played soccer, I played soccer growing up, cousins played soccer, we all just played soccer. Even to this day, there's not much basketball watched in any house that I'm in. My parents' house, the house, my personal home, I don't really watch too much basketball as well, but I say NBA, let me just say that. But we didn't grow up playing basketball. Didn't really grow up, knowing much about it. I played a little bit of football as well. But then, when I was young, fifth grade, a man came to me on the blacktop with his son and was like, "Hey, would you like to play for my basketball team?" I was in fifth grade. I was like, "Oh, sure. I don't know. Basketball? What is that?" Well, so this is the back end story. He went and told his son, he said, "Find me the biggest, most athletic kid out here." And just went pick me, and I'm just this big. I'm kind of chubby at the time, out of shape a little bit, but I'm athletic, bigger. And so, he brought me in and got to kind of teaching me basketball. He was taking me to practice, taking me to games, taking me to his house, talking to me as a father figure, a coach, even a guy I talk to this day, Steve Van Horn. But himself and a couple other families took me in and kind of taught me the game of basketball, taught me a lot about American sports, and I was able to then kind of walk into my high school season. Fast forward to high school, I guess middle school was still soccer, football. Fast forward to high school, freshman year, started understanding that, hey, I've got a little bit of skill here, right? I played varsity as a freshman, didn't play much, but I was on the team because I was bigger. And I was still learning. I played post back then, so I was playing the five.
Okay.
Because I was the biggest kid. And a lot of kids get stuck in that position where they're, the biggest kid, but for me, I was 6'2" at that age. I'm still 6'2", so I didn't grow at all, and so I had to play the five. And my coach Steve at the time, and like I said, the other families, they brought me in and they were like, "Look, I don't know if you're going to grow. I don't know, but you need to start working on your guard skills." So while I was playing post, I was playing post at practice, but at training, working on all my guard skills. And I say guard skills, what I was really doing was working on my 15-foot jump shot. So I worked on my form shooting, and I just kind of moved it in. And all he did was literally what I do with my kids now. All the drills that I do with my kids are the drills that I've done since I was a kid, learned from him. And it's just a lot of form shooting stuff, a lot of 15-foot stuff, a lot of just made baskets right in front of the hoop. So I was working on that, and I became a pretty good 15-foot jump shooter. I couldn't shoot threes at all though, but I was physical. I could post up. I could take care of the mismatch down low, and I could hit a 15-footer. And that was basically all I needed at that age.
It's a good game.
And so that's what I tell kids now, like, you don't need to do all this other stuff. You need to know how to make a 15-foot basket, a layup, the basic stuff. If you can do that really well, then you'll set yourself up. And as I, progressed through my high school season, I got really good at those skills. Still not shooting threes, but really good at those skills. Ended up winning state as in 6A in Oklahoma, which is the highest level. Me playing the big, I was the biggest guy on the court. Ended up winning state, so drew a little bit of attention. Big City Player of the Year in Oklahoma, started drawing a little bit of attention. People were like, well, maybe he can play a little bit. I averaged like 16 points. Ended up only having 2 Division I offers in college. Northwestern State in Louisiana and Western Illinois in Macomb, Illinois. Nobody else wanted me. They were like, well, I don't know if this guy can do this. I don't know if he can play, this position. He's obviously not going to play it big when he goes to college. Yeah, man. So Coach Mo brought me in. Shout out Coach Mo. He was like, look, I know you can shoot the 15-footer. I think that we want to take a chance on you. I think that you have the ability to play at the Division I level. And I was like, of course I do. I was all gung-ho. And so I went out there, went through the whole preseason. We got into our first scrimmage in preseason. This was at Iowa. It's funny, I was just telling this story. This was at Iowa, a bunch of big country white boys that could play basketball. And here I am, 6'2", just transferring from the big to a guard, right? So he put us on the wing. He put me on the wing. So man, I was out there against Iowa, and I was so nervous. Isn't even the word, man. And you can't say starstruck because I was a kid coming up, and those there wasn't any big names on that team, but everybody was just so much bigger, so much faster, so much stronger, and I was like, maybe I'm in over my head here. And so finished that. We finished. We had training table. That's when the Shabazz Napier thing came in. Training table came in. We had the training table there at Iowa. I was like, man, this is like seeing just the whole layout, seeing how that high level was. I couldn't believe it. Coming from Macomb, Illinois, it was decent, but nowhere near power Division I like Iowa. Long story short, man, head back. Coach Mo brought me in, and he was like, look, Obi, we brought you in. We thought that, you might be able to play guard. I don't know if this is something you're going to be able to do. I think it's going to be best for us to move you back to the 4. You can play like a little pick and pop. You can get to your 15-footer, play where you're comfortable. At the time, man, I was struggling. I was just like, no, you didn't bring me here for that. You told me to give me a chance. Give me the chance. Like, I understand this was new for me. Like, let me figure it out. You know what I mean? And he was just, I'm getting chills thinking about it, man. And he was just like, look, if you want to play, you're going to have to guard Tommy Tyler. Shout out Tommy, man. That's my guy. You're going to have to guard Tommy Tyler. He's our seasoned vet. He's one of the best players. If you can guard him throughout the practice, you'll learn how to play the guard, and maybe you'll be able to get some minutes out of this. Long story short, ended up leading them in scoring as a freshman at the guard position, starting. I think I averaged like 13, 14 points a game.
Wow.
And ended up beating Oral Roberts. Didn't have any offers from any of these schools. I always wanted to come home and play in front of these people that kind of helped me grow up, right? And helped me learn basketball and helped me grow into a man. I wanted to let them be able to see me play, and being in Western Illinois, man, I was struggling, like mentally struggling. That's when this whole, y'all see Self-Love Club on my shirt. That's when this whole like mental health thing came in for me. Being gone, struggling with the coach. He's, to this day, one of the hardest coaches I've ever had, one of the best coaches, but as a young kid, I didn't understand that. And so he was on me, killing my confidence, but he was getting the best out of me. Obviously ended up benefiting me, but at the time when you're going through it, you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I was just struggling as a freshman in a different city, no friends, no family, and that became really tough for me. Battled through that, and then I was just like, man, after we beat Oral Roberts at home, Coach Sean came. He was like, "Look, we made a mistake on you. I'd love to have you if you wanted to come back, whatever." Right?
Nice.
Finished out the season, and I was like, "It's time for me to go. My job here is done." You know what I mean? I'm like, "All right, I want to go home. I want to see my people," and so got into that situation, figured it out. They wanted me transfer to Oral Roberts. Had to sit out because of the transfer year. Oral Roberts and Western Illinois were both in the Summit League at that time. When I transferred, Oral Roberts went to the Southland. And so they were in a different conference. So I was transferring, so it didn't really matter. I didn't have to play against them. But then the year that I came back, they went back to the Summit League. And so now I'm at Oral Roberts playing Western Illinois. They weren't happy, obviously. I was a freshman, the leading scorer, and then I ended up leaving. Not that they weren't happy, but you know how that goes. So ended up going to Oral Roberts, sat out the transfer year, played the second year, was having a great season, tore my ACL. Sat out, that was tough, again, mentally for me. I had just transferred, I sat out, waited this whole time, I'm prepped, I'm ready. Go into the season, I think 5 games in, I'm averaging like 20-something points, I think. Tear my ACL at St. Louis. That was just a nightmare. So when I tore my ACL there at St. Louis, we were on a 10-day road trip. In college, you don't really do that. We traveled, we were on like 7 planes in 2 days. We were going to Mexico for an invitational. The St. Louis was like one of the first games. Then we played Wisconsin. Then we flew to Mexico. And I tore my ACL in St. Louis. But they were like, well, we can't fly you home. We still got to go to Wisconsin. So torn ACL, go to Wisconsin, see the doctors in Wisconsin. And then they're like, yep, you got a torn ACL. what are you going to do now? You can fly home. I'm like, so ACL's torn, whatever. I still want to go to Mexico. I've never been. Let's go to Mexico. So they're like, all right, well, going to Mexico. I'm like, yeah, I'll be here for the team. Like, whatever. I'm here for the team. I'm here with my guys. I'd rather be here than be home, mad, whatever. I want to hang out. I'm there kicking it. Go from St. Louis to Wisconsin to Texas to Mexico. I have at this point I have a permanent residence card, a green card, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not a U.S. citizen. Get to Mexico, you can't get in here. You need to bring your residence card. They're like, you got to go back home. All right, I'll go back home. I'm gonna get my card and I'm coming back. My mom met me at the airport, gave me my pass, took the pass, got back on the airport, back on the flight, flew straight to Mexico. I was on 7 planes in 2 days. It was crazy. Got to Mexico, had a great time there with my teammates, there with my, you know what I'm saying? But
with the torn ACL too, man.
With the torn ACL, so I'm on the beach. I got the pictures. I'm on the beach with a torn ACL. Whatever, man. I'm young at the time. Didn't really realize it. Having a good time. But that was the start, man. That was the start. And then obviously, after that, ended up, coming back to Oral Roberts, having 2 good years. One of the leading scorers in the country, averaged 24 points a game my senior year. And then after that, started the professional journey. And I started all back over again from a rookie. Did it all over again. So, that's the rundown up until my professional career.
That's
I think
a
we'll
crazy
get
journey.
into that here shortly.
That's an amazing journey. The one thing I wanted to go back to, you brought up several challenges going from high school to college, whether when you're in college, tearing your ACL, being, playing away from your friends and family, having to play out of position. We have a lot of young athletes that aspire to play at the level you played at. What were some of the things that you did to cope with those challenges?
I talked about that, but I also didn't mention that I had 4 surgeries in 2 years.
Wow.
So, if you guys can see my legs right now, I probably don't want to show you my legs, but I've got 2 scars on both of my shins, 2 scars on both of my knees, and a torn labrum, scarred on my torn labrum. So in college, it was tough, and at that time, people look at me now and ask 32-year-old Obi, they ask me as 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 25-year-old athletes, and they ask 32-year-old Obi, and they say, what did you do? What is some advice? And the truth is when I was back then, I wasn't really thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about all the stuff I can tell you now, man, vividly remembering times where I'm at friends' houses, having sleepovers. I'm in high school, I'm having sleepovers, and I'm in the living room hanging out, and I would just start crying. I feel myself start crying. I walk to the back, and I would walk to the room, bro, and I just start crying. I just cry. I cry there for like 5 minutes. And I'll just cry there, bro, and I come out, wipe my eyes, and I'll go back out there and hang out. And at the time, I wasn't ever thinking, now that I look back, I'm like, what was going on? I think about the moments and what I was going through back then, man, and I didn't really have anybody to talk to. And I didn't really have any way to process what was going on. Like, half of the time, my knee was hurting so bad, man. My knee would hurt so bad. And I couldn't figure out what to do, anything to relieve the pain. You know what I'm saying? And there's nobody you can talk to. Mm-hmm. And then you sit there, you watch TV, and all your friends are playing. You go to the game, and all your friends are playing. And you sit there, man, and you're just like, I can't play. I can't run. Even to this day, man, going through, the couple years ago, tearing my ACL and just thinking, man, I can't, being so grateful now that I can wake up and go work out. Because there's some days in the recent past where for months I can't go run. You know what I mean? I can't lift weights. And for somebody who that's all your life has been dedicated to, it becomes really hard. And so in my adult life, I think about how did I get past it back then? And I tell myself, I think about it and I'm like, well, back then I was so focused on other things. And so I would show up every day think about it. When you tear your ACL, I had a bilateral fasciotomy. I was in a wheelchair for a few weeks. It's like 4 months before you can do anything. 5 months, there's months before you can run and jog and do all these things. And so what are you going to do during that time? And I would get to the gym every day, limping, carrying my leg with me, sit down, and I'd do rehab for an hour. And some days, you know, the first week, it's like I'm trying to get over the bike. I'm on a bicycle, and I'm just like this, back and forth. You know what I mean? I'm going back and forth because you can't. The knee won't allow you to go one revolution.
Yeah.
So for the first 3 weeks, your workout is just this, going back and forth, and then you'll be there for 15 minutes, and then you'll be like, all right, that's enough for today, you know, and that's your victory, and you've got to figure out how to. And then one day it's like, and I'm like, yes, I did it. I'm happy. Go home. You know what I mean? Take your victory and go home. And so I remember like days going through my shoulder, man. My knees, they were bad, but I think that I was so young that I didn't understand. When I went through the shoulder in my senior year, this was me like, I'm making my final push. I'm trying to go to the NBA. And taking that hit in my shoulder, I was like, man, this is really hurting right now. How far back am I going to be able to come back and this is my shooting shoulder. What happens when I can't shoot? What happens when my shot is I got to figure out. And so what do? You know, for a long time, I'm working out left-handed. And I got to go and I got to do my workout. I got to do my leg lifts, do all my rehabs 2 times a day, 3 times a day, and getting my wins in a different way. Just a little fast forward, a sneak peek into the future, then I created the brand one by one. And when people ask me what's it about, that's kind of what the story that I give to them is like, I had to figure out how to win today, you know, and even dealing with my surgery, my knee surgery 3 years ago, I still have to figure out ways to win every day. Because some days you're going to wake up and you just can't. Your mind wants to go, your body's not going to let you go. And then that's when people get into that cycle of like, well, I want to go, and boom, they get hurt. Well, I want to go, and boom, they get hurt. They're like, man, I'm depressed. I can't do anything. You know, and that's real. That is a real mental cycle that we go through. And so when I tell people, when you ask me that question, what do? I tell people, man, find a way to win. You know, like, and it's not about when you have surgery or when you're battling back. It's about when things are going good, when things are going bad. You have to find something else to hold on to. Athletes only want to hold on to basketball. We want to hold on to how well we did today. And as a freshman, as a rookie, should I say, my rookie season in Italy, I got there and I was so mad every day. I talk about like being a freshman again. You know, they were treating me like I was a freshman again. I just led the country in scoring and back in the United States. I'm one of the leading. I show up there and they just treated me. I was treated just like a normal person, and that for me was hard. For my ego, it was hard. And so having to get there and just realizing like fit in, learn how to merge with the people. And so I had my teammates, some of my big homies, my Italian teammates. They said, "Look, man, we lose a game, we have a family to take care of. I have to go be a dad when I go home. I can't." You know, for me, I would lose a game and I wouldn't talk to anybody. You wouldn't talk to me because we'll play the game. Tomorrow will be off. Then we'll have practice the next day. We'll finish the game. You wouldn't talk to me until Monday morning at practice because I was just mad at life. I was mad at everybody. We lose and I was mad at everybody. And they were like, "Look, you can't carry that with you. You have to find something else." You know, and for them it was their family. I didn't have a family. Not only did I not have a family, my family was at home and I couldn't even talk to them. So I was really mad, you know? And so that was one thing for them, one thing that they taught to me was just find happiness other ways. Find ways to win. You can't just rely on one thing, or else when that thing is gone, then what?
One thing that stuck out to me, Obi, before we get to your, I know we talked about the college, the pro career, but that's a crazy story that you went from a big in high school to trying to play guard in college to becoming the all-time leading scorer in the country. I mean, for the young athletes and parents out there who maybe, if they work with the coach or if they don't, but they really want to improve their guard play, I think everybody knows now, if you want to play hoops, like you have to be able to shoot and dribble. You can't just be an old school big unless you're, 7'2". Sure. But what did you do during those early college years to really nail down your guard skills? Was it a lot of like individual training, time in the gym? Like what are tips to young athletes who want to follow that path?
I always try to take like direct paths. That's the good thing about Obi, and that's the bad thing about Obi. I try to be as direct as possible. And so for me, I thought that I was talented, and I thought that I had a knack and an ability to score the ball, and I wanted to hone it. And so I paid very close attention. I mean, watching film, understanding what I could do, and I kind of chunked it down to just making shots, right? And it's funny, right? But just being able to make the shots you take. Don't take a lot of them, just make the ones you take, right? And as you make the ones you take, you'll have a longer leash. But the problem is people aren't producing early enough, and then they're upset that they're not getting opportunities. Well, you're not gonna, if you don't capitalize on the opportunities you get, you're not gonna get more. And as fair or unfair as that may be, that's the reality, right? And so if you go in the game, and I tell athletes this all the time, that well, I'm only getting 10 minutes. Well, I only played 12. Well, I've been there as well. Don't come complaining to me. I've been there. I've been there at the professional level, only playing 10 minutes. You know, like don't. And so as a high school athlete, as a college athlete, you come to me and you say, well, I'm only playing 10 minutes. Well, what are you doing in those 10 minutes? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you got to go score all these points, but you have to be effective. And you have to, do, for me, it's doing what the coach wants you to do. And at Oral Roberts, they needed me to score, right? That was the part of the role that I played. And I did it pretty well if you were looking as far as numbers, but there's a lot of things that I didn't do well as, in the same breath. But for me, people look at Obi's a great scorer because that was the role that I was given, and I excelled in that. I went to the Olympics as a point guard, right? Big man in high school, Olympics as a point guard. But during that time, I met with Coach Brown in the Olympics. So Coach Brown was our coach, Sacramento Kings. He brought his whole staff in. We were doing training camp before the Olympics at Golden State's facility. There's 65 guys. We're taking a 13-man roster. Everybody shows up to training camp. First cut goes by the wave. Second cut goes by. Now there's like 25 people there. Coach Brown says, Obi, I know you're a big scorer. I know this is what you've done in your past. But we've got a team full of all NBA guys. That's not your role here. We don't need you to score the ball. But we do need somebody to play defense. We need somebody who's physical at the point guard position to play defense, somebody to bring the ball down and get the offense started. And so the thing for me was just excelling in the role that you're given. I think so often, guys, people want to show everybody what they can do.
Yep.
It's not about that. It's not about that. Being successful is being successful in your role. And everybody has a role. Even the leader, he also has a role. The coach has a role. The guy who brings the balls, brings the water, brings the shoes, he has a role. Everybody has a role. Excel in the role that you're given. Being a great player doesn't mean going and averaging 24 points. For me, that was the role I was given, be a scorer. So what was I going to do? Maximize that. But when I went to the Olympics, it was to be a defensive menace, be a facilitator. So I maximized that. People ask me, how many points did you score in the Olympics? I don't know. That wasn't my role. My role wasn't to score points, right? And so just being able to find out what your role is and then be exceptional at that. And then you'll be able to then be given more leeway to then grow your role.
Yep.
You got to do your job first before you can take over everybody else's job.
That's such a good example of just being a team player. I remember being on teams, whether it was AAU or whether it was high school, where there was 3 or 4 guys who maybe could score, but somebody had to kind of take the back seat or focus on other aspects of their game in order to focus on the team and make sure the team was having the most success.
One more thing, everybody wants to be the guy. You can't there's only one guy at the top, and that's okay. Like you don't always necessarily need to be that guy. You can play second role, second fiddle, and be a very successful player there. I talk about this team. My team, everybody knows Dijon, the mustard, right? I played in Dijon, France. My second year in France, I played there, and Coach Mo, my college coach, and Laurent Lignam, this coach here from Dijon, the 2 toughest coaches I've ever had. The 2 tough. Everybody looks at me and they say that, Obi, you're tough on players. Yes, because of those guys. No, because of them. The 2 toughest coaches I've had. But in Dijon, Coach made me feel like an integral part of the offense, the integral part of the team, and I played 16 to 18 minutes a game, and I averaged 7 points a game. And the first half of the season, I wanted to quit every day. I hated it every day. I called my agent every day. Hated it. Mad. Hate the coach. Hate the team. Don't want to be here. Because I had this expectation that I should have been, it's me. Give me the ball. I'm the one that's supposed to be scoring the points. That was my mentality going into it, is that, and just a little short story, the year before that, I had just led second division France in scoring. Got a promotion to the first division, go to the first division, I'm walking around like I'm the big dog. Once again, they're like, look, relax. And so I had to learn what a good game was. A good game for me, we just had an episode with D Boss. Hopefully that'll probably come out in the next couple of weeks. We just had an episode with D Boss, overseas vet, played everywhere. I played against him when I was in Dijon, and we talked about my role there. People know you as they met you. Everybody knows me now as Obi, the scorer. Back then, I was Obi, the defender. 94 feet. That was me. I didn't shoot the ball. I was just playing defense. But that was my early role. And so, like, going from leading second division and scoring, then coming back down here and playing only defense, and then going to Le Mans and being the guy who was scoring. And then I went to Madrid, went to Fuenlabrada in Madrid, and I was the guy only averaging 9 points a game again. And then second year again in Fuenlabrada, averaging 17 points. Each year, and now my agent that's been with me through this whole thing, he tells teams, he's like, hey, just relax, Obi's fine. Like, I go there the first year, and my first 5 months, I look terrible. I'm just like scared, and I'm passing the ball, and and that's why I can speak on those things now, because I know what it's like to go from being the guy and then having to play a role. Yep. Being the guy and having to play a role. That's okay. Sometimes you're going to be the guy. Sometimes you're going to have to play a role. You can't be mad. It's part of the game, right? But the young athletes have this ego about them where I don't know where they got it from, that they enter and they say, I'm the man. And it's like, you haven't earned that right yet. First, you have to earn it. Right? And it starts by playing defense. And you don't want to play defense, you're not going to earn that right.
And you kind of went through this a bit, but how did the coaches get you to buy into that role? Or if you're a coach, how are you getting your athletes to buy into their specific role that's going to help the team succeed?
There's no way out. You're not going to play. And that's kind of where I try to tell kids is you want to argue with, you're going to lose every time. You either do it this way or you're not going to play. And that's the line. And as a younger athlete, you can get away with talking and negotiating with people. You can negotiate with your high school coach. Yep. You can negotiate with your weight trainer. You can negotiate with teachers. Maybe in college. In college, I was negotiating as well. Professional. Here's your fine on your seat. Show up to practice. You have a fine on your seat. We're not negotiating. And that was the thing, is like, you don't want to pay attention. You don't want to listen to the rules. You don't want to follow the rules. You're just going to get fined, and we're not going to talk about it. And you'll learn very quickly. We'll take your money. And as a kid, the form of that is running. But nowadays, you can negotiate out of that too. So like, who is holding the line on these kids? And I think for me, when I'm talking to these kids, for one, they respect me enough to not disrespect me. And, for two, it's like, when we come in here, we're going to do things the right way. I don't want to hear about your feelings and I don't want to hear about it. We're going to do it the right way. And then we can talk about it after, right? And just getting kids to understand, to hear something and then apply it and don't give any feedback. My coach used to say, no palms up. No, don't show me your palm. Don't do this to me. Just don't palms up me. Keep your palms down. My coaches tell me that all the time. Because every time you have somebody, no, just don't palms up me. All right. And just keeping the line strong, keeping it fair, and at the same time, but you've got to live what you're trying to tell your athletes to live. You've got to live that kind of life. You've got to, show whether it's being on time, whether it's doing the little, you've got to be able to show them, hey, this is the line. This is what we're doing. I tell my athletes, don't walk in here 2 minutes before you're supposed to be here. 5 minutes before you're supposed to be here. Don't do that. Show up, get ready, get prepared, and then let's start on time. So when you're working out at 3:00, I already worked out at 2:00. I'm there waiting on you. And we show up and we're ready to go. And when you show up in 2 minutes, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, this is, you got to be ready. And just trying to just showing them, man, because some people never had somebody in their life that has been to that level and had to hold that line.
Yep.
And so it's foreign for them. And having them and showing them to understand, like, this is what it looks like. And if you want to compete at this level, these are standards you're going to have to uphold to.
I think, man, one thing you said there too, you were a defender at some points in your pro career, scorer at some points. I know there's a viral clip going around on social media nowadays about TJ McConnell and how he thinks that like playing hard is a skill. It sounds like you have that same mentality. You picked up 94 feet, but if that's you as a pro, like, making money to do it, so maybe you're a little more incentivized. If you're talking to a kid who's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, even in high school, they're not the best player, but they want minutes. How do you instill that in them without feeling like a clown? Because a lot of kids were like, well, I might want to pick up full court, but no one else is doing it, so why would I be the one kid? How do you get somebody to actually own that?
So initially what I told you guys is, and I say this all the time, I'm a film junkie. I became that way, once again, shout out to my coaches, when I was a kid. Steve, he showed me a clip of myself. He showed me, as a kid, he showed me the clip. He said, look at yourself. He said, if I was a college coach, I'm not taking this player. I'm not taking, and that was kind of reinforced to me over time. And for him saying that, because I used to get a call. I used to have a bad attitude, and that's why I'm so big on that. I get calls, and I roll the ball out of bounds and walk away. I get a call and I throw the ball at the ref, and walk away. See yourself on film. Watch yourself on film looking like that. It's hard to say to yourself that you can't say to yourself that that's what you're supposed to be doing, because you know that that's not right. Right. And so for me, it was like, I want to be picture perfect. And then when I became a professional, I started realizing that's how we watched film. He would pause the film and say, where are you supposed to be? Where are you supposed to be? Look at the defense. Okay, this guy has the ball. Where's the help? Where's the weak side? Where's the hoop? Where's everybody at? And we would walk through film and he'd just pause it and just, where are you supposed, and that's how you're graded, right? And so you show up in practice, and if you're not doing those things, it's just a reflection. And so seeing that as a professional level, and I'm like, hindsight's 2020, looking back and saying, oh, that's when I first realized it's when I saw it in action.
Yep.
These kids have never watched themselves on film. They don't even know what themselves look like, what they look like. You know what I mean? But for me as a kid, for me in high school, even right now, if I go to my mom's house, I look under my bed, CDs, just a whole bunch of CDs from college when I would just go and take my film. I got the CDs still under my bed because I would just collect them. You know what I mean? And so even now, they've got Synergy and they've got all different forms of YouTube, but everybody will go on YouTube and they'll watch everybody else. You need to see what you look like. You need to see what mistakes you're making. You need to see where you can get better. Don't go watch 18 hours of Kyrie. Who cares? You'll never do that move. You're never going to be in that situation. You're never going to have that much space. You're never going to have a big that can do that. Just stop. Go watch yourself and figure out how you can get better where you're at. That's all that matters. And it comes back to the same of guys want to steal these. They want to go work on their threes and they want to work on their bounce, and you want to do that for 30 minutes in the gym, and then you go to practice and you have two reps of that over 7 days. And you get in the game and you don't even get that look one time. So you just spent all your time doing nothing. I would rather you go get on the gun for 30 minutes and then go home. Just go get on the gun and go home. You know what I mean? Spend 30 minutes on the gun and then go home. You could cut down, you could be so much more efficient and effective with your time. And that's what being a professional is about.
You brought up earlier about how when you first started playing, starting just under the basket, going all the way out to 15 feet. I see some kids who are out there when they're in 5th, 6th grade launching three-pointers and doing things like that. I know in watching some Caitlin Clark videos, I think it was her dad wouldn't let her shoot from outside of 5 feet, just work on form. Is that something for younger athletes who are listening to this that you recommend? Just start, don't try to, bite off more than you can chew shooting threes that when you can't reach the basket?
Let me put it to you this way, and this is how I put it to my athletes. It is disrespectful to think that you can just show up and then do what Caitlin Clark does, or just show up and do what Kyrie or do what Steph or do what it's disrespectful to the game. It's disrespectful to yourself. It's disrespectful to those guys who have put so much time into this craft that you think you can just show up and do that. And in the same sense, to athletes who show up to games, who play down to their competition, it's disrespectful. Don't disrespect them by thinking that you can just come here and they're gonna hand it to you because you showed up. USA meets Nigeria, Vegas, Olympics. Everybody's like, oh, well, USA wasn't really playing and they didn't have is there an asterisk next to it anywhere? You're gonna find an asterisk next to it? You're not going to. It's a win. Don't tell me that they didn't come with their best foot forward. That's their fault. You should have came ready to win or ready to represent, and you didn't. And I'm not saying that about USA. I'm just saying about people who say that, they weren't trying. That does, at a professional level, at the higher levels, it doesn't matter. You either show up ready to play or you lose, and then you go home and you can tell somebody else the story about how you showed up and you weren't ready and you were just joking and you guys came and, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Show up ready to play, show up ready to compete, or you'll lose. And so the same sense, like when we're talking about the reps, you have to go put in those reps. Don't show up here and think that, because you saw it and you can do it once. No, it takes time. And the guys who are doing it have dedicated so much to it. They have dedicated so much to that craft. They have put so many hours into that craft. So the least you could do is show them a little bit of respect and say, hey, man, I understand how difficult this is. And that's just kind of how I see it. It's like when guys show up and they're not prepared, that's just how I see it.
I like that. One of my last questions, Obi, and going back, and I said one of the biggest reasons we built Athletes Untapped is that mentorship piece, helping a kid who's got a lot of talent, who has a spark, maybe doesn't have a parent or a friend who's been to where they want to be. It sounds like you had that guy in your life, Steve, way back when you were in 5th grade. They found you on the court. Can you just talk about mentorship, as well as on and both off the court in today's game, and like how impactful that can be for a young athlete who has big time hoop dreams?
I say it's tough because, like you mentioned, I had Steve, I had the Stones, I had the Philbrick's, I had a few these families that looked after me. They say it takes a village to raise a child, right? Coming from Nigeria, this is something that I want to, one by one, we talk about community. That's something that I think is extremely important in our lives, especially in today's day and age. Everybody, the community that most people have or most kids grow up with is this.
Yeah.
And this isn't real. All the stuff that goes on behind social media is not real. And so we've got these troves of people being led in the wrong direction because they're following what they see. And it's not that that's not real. It's just, you're just seeing the smallest part of it. You're just seeing the success of it. And then you're basing your success off of all the successes that you're seeing. And it's not like that. I'm here to tell you that it's not like that. There's a lot of failure that comes with anything that you want to do in life, anything that you want to be great in. It's going to take a lot of failure. You're going to have to go through that. Right? And so, I think it's important to have people that one of the biggest things is who are your mentors? Who do you follow? Who do you listen to? Right? And I always tell people, why would you follow somebody who hasn't A, been where you want to be, or B, isn't doing what you want to be doing? Right? And now there are exceptions. There always are exceptions. And that's what people do. They try to set their expectations based off the anomaly. There are exceptions, but largely you should be following the people who are doing or have done what you want to do to get you as close to there as you can. And so it's very important to see who are our leaders, who are your leaders, who are you following? What people, what values do they have? What values are they trying to instill? Are they looking out for you? And so I have built my brand off of that, off of trying to be and present options in the ways that they understand, present to them communities, present to them, outlets to then of people who have been there, done what they're doing, and can present a reference.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Mentally, physically, can present a reference somewhere for them to look towards and a little bit of guidance, I guess I could say.
That's such a good perspective too. You brought up what people are looking at on their phone, social media, a lot of that is end result, and they're not looking at all the hard work that goes into it, which I thought was a really good point. The last question I have is a little bit different from, what athletes should or shouldn't be doing. I was just curious personally, playing the Olympics, I feel like was such an awesome experience, and a lot of people don't know what that feels like, but what was that like playing for your country, getting to play against these NBA players, playing against, I know you played USA in Vegas, and getting to play in the Olympics? Just how was that experience in general?
Not just the Olympics. I told you guys I was born in Nigeria, but what I didn't tell you guys is I hadn't been back since I was born there. So I was born there. I moved to the States when I was 3, and I hadn't been back in 20-something years. Now every year my family goes back. My friend, my family, extended family, they go back normally during Christmas. Weather's great. Everybody's back home. Celebration back in the village. But during Christmas is the heart of the basketball season.
Yeah.
So since I was a kid, I've never had the chance to go back home. Fast forward to being a professional, I get the call to come join the national team. I think this is 2019, and I'm like, of course I'd come join. Fly back home. I mean, since then, been to Mali, been to Uganda, Rwanda, obviously Nigeria multiple times. Gone, I've been all over Africa, been all over my land, been home. And for me, for somebody who is deeply rooted in culture, not having been back home, hearing all the stories, and then going home and seeing it in all its glory, man, it brings me to tears all the time. And I got to go see my grandpa for the first time. He passed away a few years ago. He's 110. I got to see him when he was 107. He is the figure of our family. He is the patriarchal figure of our family, and I had never met him. I had just he was like a fictional tale to me. You know what I mean? I've never seen him before, and going home and seeing him at 107, speaking to him, watching him, see how healthy he was, walking up the stairs, walking down the stairs, playing board games. You know what I mean? Going home, going back to the place. He was the headmaster, seeing the church, the village, seeing all my people. It has meant more to me than almost anything in my life. And it's something that I will carry with me forever, And so being able to tap into that source, the source of the bloodline, being able to tap into that, going home and seeing it was amazing for me. I'm forever connected, obviously, but just, I think it means more to me than it ever has to be able to go home, represent the country, then go to Nigeria on an Olympic scale. I mean, go to the Olympics with Nigeria. To put on for my family, it meant so much more to me. It meant so much more to my family than me. And seeing it was great, man. And all the family back home. And I'm at a loss for words, honestly, man. So, yeah, it's amazing.
We've had a lot of conversations with high-profile athletes, high-profile coaches, and we hear a lot of the similar threads as we're starting to have these awesome combos. One thing that keeps sticking out is the development of a multi-sport athlete when they're younger. It sounds like going to when we first started, way back to your roots. Maybe it's the Nigerian culture. I know we're Philadelphia guys, Matt and I, Joel Embiid from Cameroon, but he was a big soccer player growing up before he even touched the basketball. What are your thoughts on kids playing multiple sports, and maybe soccer in particular, to help with basketball?
So soccer in particular, yes. Why? Because one of the biggest advantages you can have in basketball is your footwork, right? And what is the best way to get really good footwork is through soccer. That's where I credit my footwork through. People watch me juggle and kick the ball around. They're like, man, I just played soccer my whole life. And so I think soccer in particular is good for your footwork for any sport, but sports in general. They give you different latitudes, right, to play, different angles, different reads, different ways that your body is in different positions. I think that's important because I see so many athletes, and this is what I say they don't know where their feet are. You know what I mean? They can't. It's hard for them and it's not so much they don't know where their feet are, it's that their brain and their feet aren't connected. Mm-hmm. They're like pivot frontward and they're like, okay, left foot, right foot, going this way. I'm like, no, go to not this one. Go to this one, this side. and having to just teach. And it's just because, but when you have to coordinate, right, your feet, your eyes, your hand-eye coordination, all those things, then obviously it really enhances. So I tell my athletes, if you play sports, here in Oklahoma, we've got a lot of athletes, they play multiple sports. Play sports, play lacrosse, go play tennis and volleyball, and go do them all. Go play sports, and don't try to boil it down to one sport. I did that, but I don't think it's the best way to go. Right, so I think I did it too early, and just to be completely honest with you, I didn't play soccer because I was too out of shape. I wish I could have. I didn't play football because I was too scared. I didn't like to get hit. I'm sorry.
Super excited to share this message. I think from what you said, your entire story, growing up, playing in college, playing pro, all the lessons learned along the way, and the fact that, I mean, we've talked to, again, a lot of people. Not many have continued beyond where you are, and now they're giving back through coaching, through mentorship. So the fact that you stuck with it, build a brand around it, man. Anybody who works with you, I think, is going to be honestly super lucky to have you in their corner. So appreciate you sharing the knowledge.
Yeah, thank you for helping on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you guys for having me.